In this video, I asked the same 6 questions to the 2025 TRNC presidential candidates. My aim is to present the answers in a single video for you to compare. You can support me by subscribing to the channel below. Thank you in advance. The question of this video was, what do you think about the recent policy of the Greek Cypriot administration of southern Cyprus regarding the construction sector, and what strategy will you follow on this issue? Before moving on to the answers given, I would like to thank Equinox Turkey, the sponsor of this video. The Viva İskele project, realized with the assurance of Edge Point in the İskele region, the Pearl of Cyprus, adds value to the area. If you also want to take advantage of the favorable prices and reserve your place in this project, you can visit the Equinox Turkey website or get detailed information from the Viva İskele office located in İskele. Enjoy watching. What do you think about the recent policy followed by the Greek Cypriot administration of southern Cyprus regarding the construction sector, and what strategy will you pursue on this issue?
Now, unfortunately, southern Cyprus has not been able to accept our successes. Not much has changed. This happened in the past as well. During the time of Mehmet Ali Talat, we had our case there. Now, from time to time, I face very harsh criticisms. There are those who say this happened because of Tatat's statements. Very unfair. After the Annan Plan, the Turks said yes, the Greeks said no. They did the same thing again. Because after the Annan Plan, you will probably remember there was a construction boom again, and at that time, the president was Mehmet Ali Talat. Mehmet Ali Talat, Ristofias was the president on the other side, and despite the closeness of Akel and Çetepe, they filed a case called Orhan Mustafa'sı and tried to arrest some British homeowners here and committed all kinds of bullying. At that time, Turkey intervened, and the issue went as far as the Human Rights Court, and the Immovable Property Commission was established. And it was said to southern Cyprus that from now on, since there is a political problem in Cyprus and such a situation has arisen, if a citizen has an objection regarding property, they will apply to the Immovable Property Commission. The Immovable Property Commission will resolve this issue through restitution, exchange, or compensation. Therefore, the solution, that is, the remedy to the problem, is the Immovable Property Commission. Unfortunately, with their recent actions, they ignored this and in a way went down the path of arrest despite international law and the decision of the European Court of Human Rights. A few foreigners and a citizen of Israeli origin who is also a Turkish citizen. This, of course, has not been pleasant at all. It may have harmed us, but they have gained nothing either, because ultimately this strains the relations between the two peoples. And because it strains, the Greeks are as uncomfortable with this as we are, because it has damaged relations, and there is a lot of reaction to this policy on the Greek side as well. Because people normally do not condone such injustices. Because a person who has invested here, trusting in the laws, authority and order of this place, is well-intentioned no matter where they come from. There is no fraud, no theft, no ill intent. He came here and did this, he made this investment. Therefore, this is not a valid method. And sooner or later, I think this will naturally hit a wall somewhere. We are not sitting idle, of course. We have some efforts, both ours and Turkey's. In other words, we have significant efforts to reverse what the Greek side is doing. Indeed, the so-called business court of Aykut Simon in southern Cyprus is not functioning at the moment because there is a court there. The court looks at the documents, there are deficiencies in those documents, there are some inconsistencies in those documents, and what the court is waiting for, since the records could not be provided, now with some of our initiatives, the relevant lawyers are filing a case in the European Court of Human Rights in Europe, and I believe that with the court's decision there, this matter can be reversed. Now, normally, depending on the outcome of the case here, if domestic legal remedies are exhausted, then it can go to the European Union Court to appeal according to European Union rules. Now, because this is political and it has been dragging on for more than a year without any result, they have very strong lawyers with their initiatives. They are also consulting with us. This court decision was not given, and before reaching a conclusion, the court in southern Cyprus, the European Court of Human Rights, should sit and see this case, and I believe its possible decision will cancel this court here, because such a disgrace cannot happen. Now, this is a disgrace. I mean, southern Cyprus has no authority in the north. The authority in the north belongs to the Turkish Cypriots. Even these entities know this. Everyone knows this. So the person you are trying to arrest must have acted against your own laws, your own regulations, according to the penal code. You arrest based on that. Who are you arresting? Your laws are not valid here. There has been a separate order here for 51 years, since 1974. This country has a constitution, it has laws. There is a state structure here, governed by all kinds of laws and regulations. The world sees this, the world knows this, they engage with us. We go, we meet in various places here and there.
But recently the European Union made a statement. They said they don't respect our judicial decisions. That has been a disgrace for Europe, because it was those in the south who had it published there.
Because those in the south have exploited their positions in such and such ways to enter the European Union.
Greece is like that too. They can use some bodies, some institutions and organizations in the European Union for their own interests. They are not aware of what they have gotten into. Therefore, we need to maintain the order here and strongly support every sector. And I believe these will eventually be overturned in international courts. Therefore, this issue should not be exaggerated too much. Because filing a lawsuit is not easy. I mean, a Greek Cypriot will come, get documents here, collect documents, and therefore go there and convict. It's not as easy as it seems. It takes years. Therefore, without getting caught up in this, we must protect our economy, support our sector, and make every effort for the development of every kind of sector here. This is, of course, the fear of the Greek Cypriots, because they do everything, embargo, isolation, to hinder this place. But thank God we can overcome all these obstacles. And in this world of communication, there is tourism, higher education, light industry. With the water brought from Turkey, there is agriculture, livestock, farming, real estate, construction sector. And now with the gradual completion of digital transformation, this place will become an information island, as Mr. Selçuk Bayraktar told me when we organized Technofest. Indeed, I spoke with him, and he mentioned that his companies could open campuses and technoparks here, because there are many young people in the universities here who have the potential to be successful in the software industry technologically. This is also a potential. Selçuk Bayraktar, the owner of Beka, told me that he wants to evaluate this here.
I am also following up on this matter.
What do you think about the recent policy followed by the Greek Cypriot administration of southern Cyprus in the construction sector, and what strategy will you pursue regarding this issue?
In the first stage, of course, the issue of recent lawsuits or arrests by the Greek Cypriot leadership, from my perspective as a lawyer, my definition is this regarding that definition. I say that no one should doubt that these are cases where law has been turned into an instrument of politics. So, actually, when you look at it from a distance, it can be seen like this. A Greek Cypriot former property owner is filing a lawsuit against the person currently using that property, or the person who is the owner of that property, according to the laws of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. So, what is this? It is formatted as one person filing a lawsuit against another person. But this format is smaller, this format is superficial. When you dig a little deeper, you actually say this. Here, law, in the sense that I know as a lawyer, actually becomes an instrument of politics. In other words, law is instrumentalized by politics. It is made into a tool. For what is it made a tool? To achieve political goals. So what is that political goal? How does it form? Right now, Mr. Christodoulidis is actually telling the world this about this issue. He says, I want to start the solution negotiations from where I left off in Crans-Montana. I have announced it to the whole world. You know, there are 6 headings in those solution negotiations. In the comprehensive negotiations, one of these headings is property. Therefore, I want to start. Therefore, I want to resolve the property issue as well, but they are not resolving it. They don't want this, nor do they want that. Therefore, the property issue is not being resolved. Well, of course, what will happen? My people will also go and file those lawsuits because they don't want a solution. They say no solution is a solution, and they sell the old Greek properties to foreigners, not even to Turkish Cypriots. This is the narrative. This is the language. What was this language before? Actually, seeing that difference is what will enlighten us more. The language we used was this, in 2004, we said yes in the Annan Plan referendums. We clearly demonstrated our will for a solution, as seen by the whole world. Then the Terra Tiristo negotiations took place. Once again, we clearly demonstrated our will for a solution. Following that, in 2017, the Akunci Anastasiadis meetings took place in Crans-Montana. We put our will for a solution on the table in a way that no one in the international community could doubt. At exactly those times we were saying, we want a solution. We want a comprehensive solution to the Cyprus issue. We probably couldn't have shown it more clearly. In this comprehensive solution negotiation process, there are 6 chapters. One of these chapters is property. Therefore, since we want a solution, we also want the property issue to be resolved. But you persistently avoid the table. You ran away in 2004, you ran away again as we approached 2010, you ran away again in 2017. So what are we supposed to do? Are you expecting us to freeze life here? I mean, should we wait until you decide you want a solution? And we were even adding this by asking. We were saying, look, in 2004 you said no. If you had said yes to property, the resolution of property would have started slowly from the next day. This resolves slowly. I mean, not everything is solved at once. But if the solution, meaning the property solution, had started the day after 2004, by 2025, maybe the last 80%, 90% of the property on the whole island would have been resolved. But you said no there. We still did not stop. But this is important. What did we do? Okay? You said no. There was no solution. But we established an immovable property commission in 2005 in line with the conditions of that solution and our will for a solution. And through this immovable property commission, even in the absence of a solution, we remained within international law. On what basis did we establish the immovable property commission? The will for a solution, the principle of bisonality, and the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights. In other words, we remained within international law. You didn't even establish something like that. So don't the Turkish Cypriots currently have property in the south? You didn't establish a similar mechanism for its resolution. But we said yes, you said no. It wasn't resolved. We didn't just wait. We also established the Immovable Property Commission so that at least slowly, those solutions would emerge. This is what we did and what we explained. Well, as I said at the beginning, the narrative turned around and they started telling us that you are now saying that lack of a solution is a solution. Said this is so very no idea. Then property will not be resolved either. So both the idea that lack of solution is a solution and the subheading of property will not be resolved. And you will sell the former Greek Cypriot properties on this side to foreigners. When this unacceptable language was adopted, yes, we got into trouble and we always said this. Let our viewers look back at the newspapers, the press, the media of that day. When the activity regarding the sale of property to foreigners increased, we said that property is sold to foreigners everywhere in the world. This is part of the economy. But there need to be standards, measures, and boundaries for this. There needs to be a proper basis. We can create this proper basis because we are experienced with the Immovable Property Commission in creating such a basis. But know that if we don't create this foundation, if we don't legally establish it on the right basis, it will cause us a lot of trouble, both internally and externally, we said. Unfortunately, the thing we feared, the thing we said would cause us trouble both internally and externally happened. And under what conditions did it happen? Remember, when we were saying these things, we were urging to establish it on the right basis. And while saying, let's make economic activity predictable, Mr. Ersin Tatar said at a meeting in Iskele, go ahead and don't be afraid, I am behind you. Dendül? Well, those who walked. Then when the first arrest happened in the south, he said, I did say, don't cross to the south. If you do, you will be arrested. So while saying I'm behind you, the discourse turned this way. We need to address this issue with state seriousness. And to the table, when we return, we are the side that wants a solution. We have proven this many times. Part of the solution is also property. As long as you avoid the negotiation table, property will not change or be resolved. When property is not resolved, you cannot expect any community to completely freeze their economic activities until it suits your whims. We need to reclaim this sentence. Nope.
In front of the international community.
What do you think about the recent policy of the Greek Cypriot administration of southern Cyprus regarding the construction sector, and what strategy will you follow on this issue?
Now, of course, this is also one of the difficult questions. I mean, the most difficult bag is the property issue, the mother of the Cyprus issue. Therefore, when we look at the property regime in Cyprus, some reminders about the past need to be made. In 1977, the UBP introduces the first version of this item law known as the Settlement and Land Consolidation Property Law. There, an allocation is given. Then, for one reason or another, this allocation document is converted into a title deed during the CTP-DP or UBP-DP-CTP period in 1995, and this actually removes the last legal obstacle in front of profiteering. Even though it was not included in the Annan Plan in 2004, the clause granting priority rights to current users initiates a new period of plunder for us. And under these conditions, the real estate sector grows, the construction sector grows, and very large, very big bosses emerge. Some of these, clustered in various places, exploit different emotions of the community. Some exploit sporting and football emotions, while others are found elsewhere. But as a result, a large number of people suddenly gain wealth. Subsequently, with the two-state discourse primarily advocated by UBEP, along with its minor partners, this issue becomes more pronounced. And as the solution becomes more distant, the appetite for spoils grows even larger. We remember Ersin Tatar said, "Go ahead and don't be afraid." Regarding these things about construction, about real estate, move forward and don't be afraid. The property crisis we are experiencing today, there are essentially two main parties responsible. They are all responsible for this, but it is the National Unity Party and the Republican Turkish Party. This needs to be clearly stated and explained. Today, thousands of Greek Cypriots have applied to the International Commission. Was it 2007 for the Immovable Property Commission, or was it 2011? I don't remember the exact date. The Immovable Property Commission was established, and within this framework, some applications were made. These were not concluded. Some people came, and the necessary attention was not given, and the Simon Aykut incident erupted. And the only response from our administration to Simon Aykut was to arrest 5 Greek Cypriots who came here to see their house and land. The approach that claimed to do great things ended up arresting 5 innocent people over 70 years old. This is both wrong and unjust. Therefore, if I am elected, I will immediately open Varosha, which has symbolic importance, immediately. Under the supervision of the United Nations, I will make a call for it as a Turkish territory. And I will ensure that the former owners of Maraş, that is the people of Maraş, come and invest there. I want to do this as soon as I am elected. Yes, the opening of the gates, that thing we call the 10th article, ultimately depends on the military. That's why we can't even open our own gates to manage ourselves. Therefore, we will do this too, and it will emerge as a confidence-building measure. And in general, the property regime, which I think Maraş is an important part of. As in the Annan Plan, we will activate the Property Compensation Commission, the Immovable Property Compensation Commission, through the process of restitution, exchange, and compensation. And with the Turkish properties in the south, these two, we will take inventory and ensure that everyone receives their rights within a framework of fair justice. Of course, we especially want this to be examined by international legal teams. But, of course, the solution to the property issue in our vision is only possible with a truly just solution. In other words, the most accurate solution for property is possible with a just solution. But if you cannot ensure justice in property, you cannot provide a just solution. The Immovable Property Commission should be activated for this. But of course, if you ask me personally, I'll share my own thoughts, because our people are divided between federalists and two-state supporters. In my opinion, one of these approaches is a dream and the other is beyond a dream.
Because it has no equivalent. Why does it have no equivalent?
Because this federation was brought up to be negotiated for the sake of negotiating during the Cold War. Then a rehearsal of these was done on the 24th of April, 2004, and it was not accepted. In my opinion, instead of a federation, we should turn towards the option of the Republic of Cyprus, where 110,000 Turkish Cypriots hold citizenship. When I take office with international observers, I want to implement this, whatever it may be called. With international observers, the election of the 24 seats existing in the Constitution of the Republic of Cyprus, within the framework of international law, the election of the vice president, and going to the parliament to discuss what status will be held in the parliament, whatever status will be given. 2. The property issue can be most easily resolved with the representatives elected by the people in the seats of the Cyprus Republic House of Representatives, and our place in international law can be solidly established there. As for guarantees and other matters, they are already among the guarantors themselves. Why am I saying this? Look, the 1959-60 London-Zurich agreements. In the London-Zurich agreements, the United Kingdom is happy, Turkey is happy, Greece is happy, the Greek Cypriot are happy. The Turkish Cypriots are hostages. I mean, what was our crime? Why should our young people continue in this situation any longer? Therefore, even among the Greeks, there are people and mindsets that do not want to share governance with us, even if not to the extent of a federation. But in a state that has become a member of the European Union, the constitution is clear, international agreements are clear.
The request for this can make the recognition status you mentioned easier to implement within international law. Otherwise, is Turkey alongside the federation today or not? Although it seems like the Turkish thesis hasn't changed today, Turkey officially supports the two-state solution. That is a complete fantasy. I mean, why is it being done that way? Why is it done like that? We will see these over time.
But in my opinion, the property issue needs to be resolved on the basis of justice. Peace provides the foundation for justice. What do you think about the recent policy of the Greek Cypriot administration of southern Cyprus regarding the construction sector, and what strategy will you follow on this issue?
You know, actually, there used to be a famous saying, a madman throws a stone into a well and 100 wise men can't get it out. That's what's happening, okay? Now, what is there? 51. For 51 years, this place has been under Turkey's sovereignty, right? For 51 years, or let's say 50 years, discussions have been held, agreements have been made on these issues, and nothing happens. Suddenly, arrests start. Why? Because they are used as part of a political bargaining chip during these discussions. Just as war is a continuation of politics, these kinds of arrests are also a continuation of politics. This is a card used by the Greek Cypriot administration against the administration in the north and against Turkey. Similarly, the arrest of 4 people in the north who, in my view, and from the perspective of our Cappadocia, are innocent, and the arrest of Greek Cypriots are the same. Politically, both sides are using people as leverage. They are imprisoning them to achieve their own goals. They were killed in prison, they died, these people die. Because they are all elderly people. It is worth considering this. Now the construction sector has risen so suddenly. Why did it rise? I mean, today I am discussing these issues with a comrade. I mean, when we look at the construction sector, especially after a long period of stagnation, it showed a boom after the pandemic, after 2021. Why? Everyone needs to ask this. Why this boom after such a long period of stagnation? Clearly, certain discussions are taking place in certain places, informal discussions, and within the framework of these discussions, large capital owners who want to maximize profit are making their investments accordingly. Then they saw that there was big money in this business in Cyprus. Investments have come here. War broke out in Ukraine. Suddenly investments increased even more. Why? Because those migrating from Ukraine and Russia will come to Cyprus and buy property. So has the war in Ukraine ended? That suddenly the construction sector has collapsed. So the issue is not only related to the Ukraine war. These are just segments with minor functions. The main point is about how much the big capital owners can increase their profits, their maximum profits. We will see. In the upcoming period, maybe negotiations about Cyprus will start, maybe they won't. Our belief is that the likelihood of an intergovernmental bourgeois agreement in Cyprus is very low because there are so many interest groups. We used to call this a 7-headed monster, but now this 7-headed monster has become a 10-headed monster. Why did we call it a 7-headed monster? On one side, there was the United Kingdom, Turkey, Greece, the Turkish Cypriots, and the Greek Cypriot leaders. We are proud of these. We called it a 7-headed monster. Now the United States has also come to Cyprus. France also came to Cyprus. Germany also came to Cyprus. Israel also came to Cyprus. Now it has become a 9-headed monster. If tomorrow or the next day they make an agreement with Russia, which is not seen at the moment, it will become a 10-headed monster. So how will a 10-headed monster come together and reach an agreement? This is a bit difficult. Though the possibility of an agreement in Cyprus is actually possible in 2 ways. The strong imposing on the weak. This is most likely only through war. However, in that way, it won't just be political dominance. Secondly, when the Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots, all the workers and laborers in Cyprus start shouting that they don't want their presence in Cyprus and their voices rise, they will sit down and renegotiate, because at the end of the day, they will lose all of Cyprus if they don't agree. This is only possible in this way. It is not possible otherwise. But right now, the workers and laborers of Cyprus, Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot workers and laborers have not yet reached that point of uprising.
What do you think about the recent policy of the Greek Cypriot administration regarding the construction sector, and what strategy will you pursue on this issue?
The foundation of the construction sector there is Israeli capital, both theirs and ours. Israelis are buying a large amount of property with direct title deeds there. In Cyprus, there are intermediaries or direct buyers as well. Not 24,000 acres, almost none. I'm sure on the Greek side, it's 50,000 maybe. When Israel was being established, the Israelis first went and bought the Arabs' properties from the English and the Arabs for large sums of money. Then they said, we have a right to this extent, and developed the Republic of Israel, which was established through wars. In my opinion, the Israelis are pouring a lot of money into Cyprus through the construction sector. And the Israeli companies that own the construction sector are making large amounts of money from these constructions. Israelis consider political and commercial interests before transportation. Isn't it true that among the largest commercial companies in the world are those based in America and Israel? And these include production and trade and construction companies. And there are institutions that produce goods from these construction companies. There are institutions that produce and make machines. That is to say, today, the construction companies, both of the Greek Cypriots and the Turkish Cypriots, are part of a movement due to the large-scale plan of Israel.
Just like in the 1940s.
They have sold the Arabs goods for money, and with that money, they have built and consumed. This is exactly the situation in Cyprus. All of Israel's plan today is to establish a dominion in Cyprus and make the entire Cyprus an Israeli dominion within the framework of the Promised Land. I believe this is the most crucial point and answer to the question we asked. It is a very dangerous but seemingly profitable event in the short term. I am warning for the rights of the Quran. I am warning the people in Cyprus.